Something in you slowed down just now. Not your body, your spirit. You didn't come here because of noise. You came because something inside you is tired of striving and ready for clarity. You've been asking God for change, for provision, for relief from carrying everything alone. But what if the first door he opens isn't outside? What if it's inside you? Stay here for the next 13 minutes, not to be hyped, but to be aligned. If your heart already feels a little quieter than it did a minute ago, tap like as a quiet, "God, I'm listening." And subscribe if you want more moments that bring peace instead of pressure. Now let's talk about the kind of window heaven really opens. In Scripture, a window from heaven was never about instant gain. It was about divine timing meeting prepared hearts. When people were ready, God moved. When hearts were aligned, provision followed. When faith replaced fear, doors opened. The window was not random, it was relational. God does not pour into lives that are disconnected from Him. He draws people close, builds trust, teaches stewardship, and then leads them into seasons of greater responsibility. That's what this moment represents. A call back to alignment. Throughout the Bible, God prepared people before promoting them. Joseph learned faithfulness in hidden places before he led a nation. David learned trust in quiet fields before he wore a crown. The preparation felt slow, but it built strength. Right now, God may be shaping your character more than your circumstances, teaching you patience where you once rushed, wisdom where you once reacted, peace where anxiety used to sit. Those qualities are capacity, and capacity is what allows blessing to stay. Heaven measures wealth differently. A peaceful mind is wealth. A disciplined life is wealth. A heart that trusts God instead of fear is wealth. Money without peace creates stress. Opportunity without wisdom creates pressure. But when God builds you inwardly first, you can carry outward blessing without losing stability. Many people live in constant urgency, always chasing, always afraid of missing out. God's way replaces panic with patience. When you walk with Him, you don't need to force doors. You learn to recognize the ones that open with peace instead of pressure. That's discernment. Discernment protects your future. Pause right now. Notice the difference between hype and peace. If this message is calming your mind instead of exciting your fear, that's alignment happening. Tap like as a choice for peace over panic. Subscribe to keep your spirit grounded when life feels uncertain. When God opens a window, it doesn't feel chaotic. It feels clear, steady, right. You don't have to rush. You don't have to scramble. You move with peace, not pressure. That is how you know it's from Him. This moment is not about chasing something. It's about becoming someone. Someone rooted in faith, guided by wisdom, steady in every season. Stay close to God. Stay faithful in small steps. Stay patient in seasons of growth. That's how you walk through the doors He opens. Say this quietly. I trust God's timing. I choose peace over fear. I walk in wisdom. I am not alone. If this message steadied your spirit today, like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs calm more than hype right now. Stay steady. Stay faithful. You are being guided. Let's continue. Not with urgency, but with depth. Because the real shift God brings into a life doesn't begin with noise. It begins with order. When heaven opens a window, it often looks like clarity returning where confusion once ruled. It looks like emotional steadiness replacing constant pressure. It looks like the ability to pause and pray instead of react and regret. That's not small. That's spiritual repositioning. In Scripture, whenever God moved people into a new season, He first reshaped how they thought and trusted. The Israelites had to learn dependence in the wilderness before they could manage a land of abundance. Their external journey mirrored an internal one, from fear to faith, from complaint to trust. You may feel like you're in a season where things are being slowed down, simplified, even stripped back. But this is often how God prepares space for lasting stability. He removes what distracts you from Him. He quiets what used to dominate your thoughts. He calls your heart back to the foundation. And that foundation is trust. Trust is what allows you to move without panic, to wait without despair, to act without fear, controlling your choices. Trust doesn't make life predictable, but it makes you steady in the unknown. This steadiness is part of heaven's preparation, because if sudden increase came without inner stability, it would create pressure instead of peace. But when your spirit is anchored, you can handle growth without losing balance. God is also refining your discernment. You are becoming more sensitive to what feels right in your spirit and what doesn't. Doors that once looked appealing now feel heavy. Opportunities that once would have rushed you now prompt you to pray. That is wisdom forming. Wisdom is a form of protection. It guards your time, your energy, and your future. Scripture says wisdom is more valuable than gold because it helps you build a life that lasts instead of one that collapses under pressure. As this wisdom grows, your pace changes. You stop moving from urgency and start moving from peace. You learn that not every open door is an answer, and not every delay is a denial. Sometimes God keeps a door closed because something better is forming beyond what you can see. This is where faith deepens, not in dramatic moments but in daily surrender. You surrender timelines. You surrender outcomes. You surrender the need to understand everything immediately. And in that surrender you find rest. Rest is powerful. It quiets anxiety. It clears your thinking. It allows you to hear God's guidance more clearly. When your mind isn't racing, your spirit becomes more receptive. This is part of heaven's window, a season where your connection with God becomes more consistent, more natural, more woven into everyday life. You talk to Him in small moments. You thank Him for simple things. You ask for guidance in ordinary decisions. That ongoing relationship is where real provision flows, not just provision of resources, but provision of strength, peace, and direction. And as those grow, your life becomes more stable. You respond with patience where you once reacted with stress. You choose faith where you once chose fear. You move with clarity instead of confusion. That is a sign you are walking in alignment. The window heaven opens is not only about what comes into your life. It is about what changes within your life. And when those internal shifts take root, the external path begins to unfold with greater order and purpose. So keep walking gently. Keep returning to prayer. Keep choosing trust over tension. God is not rushing you. He is readying you. And when you are ready, the steps ahead will open with peace instead of pressure. Let's go further into this because by now you can feel this isn't about hype. It's about alignment becoming lifestyle. When God opens a window, it doesn't just change a moment. It changes your posture. You begin to live differently. You carry yourself differently. You approach decisions with a quieter spirit. You stop asking, "How fast can this happen?" And you start asking, "Is this right for me?" That shift is powerful. It means you're no longer led by pressure, but by peace. And peace is one of the clearest signs of God's guidance. Scripture says God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. So when something pulls you into chaos, urgency, and fear, that's usually a sign to slow down, not speed up. Heaven's window opens clarity. You begin to see that some doors you wanted closed were actually protection. Some delays you resisted were actually preparation. Some seasons that felt empty were actually building strength you didn't know you'd need. God wastes nothing. Every quiet season taught you patience. Every uncertain moment stretched your trust. Every time you chose integrity over shortcuts, you strengthened your foundation. Now you're not the same person who started this journey. You're steadier. You don't panic as easily. You don't jump at every opportunity. You feel a deeper need for peace before you move. That's discernment maturing. And discernment is one of heaven's greatest gifts, because it keeps you from stepping into burdens disguised as blessings. As this discernment grows, your prayers change too. You pray less out of desperation and more out of relationship. You don't just ask God to fix things, you ask Him to guide you, to shape you, to align your heart with His wisdom. That prayer is powerful, because when your heart is aligned, your path becomes clearer. You stop forcing outcomes, and you start following direction. And following God's direction brings a different kind of security, not based on what you can control, but on who is leading you. This is how real stability enters your life. Not all at once, but step by step. A wiser decision here. A patient response there. A moment of restraint instead of reaction. These small acts of faith build a life that can stand when pressure comes. And it's in these steady steps that you begin to notice something. You're not as anxious about the future as you used to be. You still care, you still plan, but fear isn't sitting in the driver's seat anymore. Faith is. That is the sign of a heart walking through heaven's window, not chasing something, but becoming someone who trusts God deeply. So keep walking this way. Keep choosing prayer over panic, wisdom over impulse, patience over pressure. Because the window heaven opens is not just about what enters your life, it's about the life that's being built within you. And what God builds from the inside out lasts. Now you're starting to see that this window from heaven isn't a single event. It's a new way of walking. God isn't just inviting you into a moment of blessing. He's inviting you into a rhythm of living where His peace leads and His wisdom guides. That rhythm changes everything. You no longer rush ahead of Him, and you no longer lag behind in fear. You walk with Him, and walking with God brings balance. You still work hard. You still make plans. You still carry responsibility. But you don't carry it alone, and you don't carry it with panic. There's a difference now. A quiet confidence sits beneath your thoughts. Even when questions come, they don't shake you the way they used to. You know where to bring them. You know who holds the answers. This is what it means to live from alignment instead of anxiety. You're learning to check your spirit before making decisions. If peace isn't there, you wait. If clarity doesn't come, you pray. That pause is not weakness. It's strength under control. It keeps you from stepping into paths that would drain you later. Scripture says the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. Ordered means intentional, guided, placed with care, not random, not rushed. And when your steps are ordered, your life gains a different kind of stability. You may not always move quickly, but you move securely. And security built on God's guidance doesn't collapse when circumstances shift. You'll also notice your home, your mind, and your relationships becoming calmer. When you carry peace, you bring peace. Your responses soften tension. Your patience slows conflict. Your faith steadies conversations that once would have spiraled. This is how heaven's work in you becomes heaven's influence through you. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's powerful. Because a life aligned with God becomes a place where others can find rest too. And as you continue in this rhythm, gratitude becomes more natural. You start noticing small mercies, a moment of rest, a kind word, a quiet answer to prayer. Gratitude keeps your heart open and your perspective clear. It reminds you that God's care is already active, not just future. So keep walking at the pace of peace. Keep listening for that steady inner confirmation before you move. Keep bringing your plans to God instead of carrying them alone. This is the lifestyle heaven's window leads into. Not a rush of pressure, but a path of peace. Not a moment of excitement, but a life of steady trust. And as you stay in that place, you'll find that what God builds in you is stronger than anything you could build on your own. And now you arrive at the quiet truth behind everything you've been hearing. Heaven's window was never only about what could come to you. It was about what God wanted to build within you. Because when God changes the inside first, the outside can change without stealing your peace. Look at how far you've already come. You don't react the way you used to. You don't panic as quickly. You don't feel the same urgency to force outcomes. Instead, you pause. You pray. You wait for peace. That is not weakness. That is strength under God's direction. This is what it looks like when a life becomes aligned with heaven, not loud, not chaotic, but steady. You are learning to move at the pace of God's wisdom, not the pace of fear, and that pace protects you. Because not every fast opportunity is a good one. Not every delay is a loss. Not every closed door is rejection. Some are protection. Some are preparation. Some are redirection toward something better than you could have planned. Now you can see it. The window God opens is not a moment you chase. It's a mindset you live from. A mindset that says, I don't have to rush. God is guiding. I don't have to panic. God is present. I don't have to carry this alone. That mindset fills your life with a different kind of wealth. Peace that steadies your thoughts, wisdom that shapes your choices, and trust that anchors your heart. And from that place, everything else begins to flow more naturally. Your home feels calmer because you are calmer. Your decisions are wiser because you are listening. Your future feels less frightening because you know who walks with you. That is heaven's work made visible. So as you move forward from here, carry this with you. Stay close to God in the ordinary moments. Keep choosing prayer before panic. Keep waiting for peace before saying yes. You don't need to chase a window. You are already walking in alignment. And as long as you stay in that alignment, God will guide your steps at the right time, in the right way. Your life is not random. Your path is not forgotten. Your story is still being written, with wisdom, with care, and with purpose. Walk forward calmly, trust deeply, and rest in the truth that the one who leads you is faithful. That is the final word. You are guided. You are covered. You are not alone.